On my birthday, my grandfather came to visit. "Did you enjoy the truck I sent you last year?" he asked. I replied, "What truck?" I never got anything. My grandfather turned to my parents, their faces draining of color, and all hell broke loose. "My name is Michael Reed, and for as long as I can recall, I've been the overlooked child in my family. It's not something you can shrug off, no matter how tough you try to be." My parents, Ellen and Richard, always had a favorite, my younger brother, Lucas. He was the light of their world, while I was a shadow they barely acknowledged. I'm not exaggerating when I say that from childhood, everything good went to Lucas. The best games, the trendiest clothes, the warm praise, the bright smiles, all his. I got the hand-me-downs, if anything at all. I grew up in a home where comparisons were constant. "Look at Lucas, so clever, so charming," my mother would say, while I'd hear, "You need to step it up, Michael." My father was just as bad, always gushing over Lucas for the smallest things, a sloppy sketch or a passing grade. Meanwhile, I could ace exams or win a school award, and all I'd get was, "Nice job, but don't get cocky." It felt like my existence was a burden. Despite it all, I never gave up. When I finished high school, my parents made it clear there was no money for my college. "We can't cover everything, Michael. Lucas needs more support. He's got a bright future," my mother told me, her eyes cold as always. So, at 18, I started working at a hardware store. It was a basic job, no experience needed. I stocked shelves, helped customers, and kept a smile on even when exhausted. The pay was modest, but it covered essentials: food, some clothes, the occasional night out with friends. It was my way of holding my head high, proving I didn't need my parents' approval to move forward. Lucas, meanwhile, didn't work a day. My parents excused it, saying he was finding his way or too young to stress about that. At 20, he spent his days lounging at home, playing video games or hanging out with friends, always flush with cash he never seemed to earn. I'd come home drained from work, hands rough from lifting boxes, mind heavy with bills, only to hear snide remarks. "Still at that dead-end job, Michael?" Lucas would smirk, showing off a new jacket our parents bought him. "You should aim higher," my mother would add, while my father barely looked up from his phone. My efforts meant nothing to them. What kept our family afloat wasn't my parents' jobs. They hadn't worked in years. They lost their positions during a downturn, my mother blaming the economy, my father citing bad luck. But honestly, I never saw them try to find new work. The reason we weren't homeless was my grandfather, Vincent. He lived abroad, retired with a hefty pension and deep savings. Every month, he sent money for rent, utilities, groceries, everything. He even funded Lucas's luxuries, like his designer shoes or fancy outings. My parents managed it all, claiming it was simpler that way. I never saw a dime of that money, but I never asked. I've always believed in earning my own way. My grandfather Vincent was the only person who truly valued me. As a kid, I spent summers with him, my happiest memories. He'd take me hiking, show me how to tinker in his garage, and say, "Michael, you've got something unique. Don't let anyone dim your light." He was the only one who made me feel worthy. But 3 years ago, he moved overseas, and I hadn't seen him since. We talked on the phone occasionally, but distance limited us to brief calls. Still, I knew I was his favorite grandson, though he never said it outright. You could hear it in his voice, his genuine interest in me. My 23rd birthday was no different from the others. My parents never cared much for my birthdays. As a kid, I'd get a small cake at best, with a half-hearted happy birthday sung like a chore. That year, though, when I got home from a long shift at the store, I found a cake on the kitchen counter. It was a cheap grocery store one, frosting crumbling at the touch. My parents and Lucas were there singing happy birthday with barely hidden boredom. "Happy birthday, Michael," my mother said, her smile forced. My father mumbled something, and Lucas didn't even look up from his phone. No gifts, no cards, just that sad cake. I found it odd they'd bothered, as it wasn't like them. Then my mother said, "This is from your grandfather Vincent. He wanted you to have something special." I nodded, grateful, though something felt wrong. Why would my parents, who never cared, arrange this? I figured Vincent had insisted. That night, we cut the cake, each taking a slice. No one talked much, and the celebration lasted under 10 minutes. Lucas went to his room, my father to the TV, my mother to her phone. I went to my room, feeling lonelier than ever, but I let it go. It was my life, and I was used to it. What happened next was stranger. In the weeks that followed, my parents and Lucas started acting differently. Suddenly, they had money. Not just enough for bills, but for extravagances. My mother bought designer bags she once called wasteful. My father sported a pricey watch, and Lucas strutted in high-end sneakers, bragging about a trip they were planning. I overheard my mother on the phone talking about a family vacation. "Just us, a little escape to unwind," she said, as if I didn't exist. They went on a week-long trip to a lake resort, without inviting me. "No space, Michael, and you've got work, right?" my father said with a grin I couldn't tell was cruel or just indifferent. I stayed home, working shifts while they posted smiling photos online, looking like the perfect family. I won't lie, it stung, but I also wondered where the money came from. Vincent always sent enough for necessities, but this was different. Was he giving them more? I tried not to dwell on it. Maybe it was just a generous gift. I didn't want trouble. A year passed, and my life stayed the same. Same store job, same tight budget, same family taunts. Lucas still didn't work, living large on Vincent's money, while my parents pampered him like royalty. I was still their punching bag. "Another year and you're still stuck there, Michael?" my mother said once, her tone dripping with disdain. Lucas would laugh, and my father would nod in agreement. I gritted my teeth and kept going. When my 24th birthday came, I expected nothing special. Another work day, maybe a cheap cake if they bothered, and the same bored faces. But then something unexpected happened. I got a call from Vincent. His voice was warm, as always, but excited. "Michael, my boy, how's it going? I'm coming for your birthday today. I'm taking you to the best restaurant in town. Bring your parents and Lucas. It's a family celebration." I was stunned. Vincent was coming. I hadn't seen him in 3 years, and the thought of him here filled me with rare joy. I agreed instantly, and he said he'd arrive that evening. I was thrilled. Finally, someone who cared about me would be here. Vincent kept his word. He showed up at the house with his familiar grin and a hug that took me back to those childhood summers. He was tall, gray-haired, with an energy that defied his age. My parents and Lucas greeted him with stiff smiles, seeming nervous. My mother was quieter than usual. My father kept checking his phone, and Lucas barely acknowledged Vincent, sulking in a corner. We went to the restaurant Vincent picked, a fancy place where the staff treated you like royalty. The food was incredible, and for a moment, I felt valued. Vincent kept asking about my life, my job, my plans. The first time in years, someone cared. My parents and Lucas, though, weren't enjoying it. They spoke little, and when they did, it was to jab at me. "Another year at the store, huh, Michael?" Lucas sneered. "Still the same old you," my mother added. I tried to ignore them, not wanting their words to ruin the moment. But then, over dessert, Vincent smiled and said something that changed everything. "Michael, tell me, did you like the gift I sent last year?" I was confused. A gift? The only thing I'd gotten was that lousy cake, supposedly from him. "Oh, yeah, thanks for the cake, Grandpa," I said, trying to sound grateful. But Vincent's face shifted. He frowned, puzzled. "A cake," he said. "I didn't send a cake, Michael." The table went tense. My parents, quiet until then, started fidgeting. My mother tried to pivot, commenting on the food, but Vincent cut her off. "Hold on, Ellen. What cake? He looked at me. Michael, didn't you like the truck I sent for your birthday last year? The world froze. A truck? What truck? I said, lost. I never got a truck, Grandpa. Just the cake they said was from you. My mother's face went white. My father dropped his spoon and Lucas, always quick with a quip, stared at the floor. Vincent turned to my parents, his expression a mix of confusion and anger. What's going on here? He asked, his voice chilling. I gave you a truck for Michael, a pickup, for his birthday. Where is it? My parents stammered. My mother mumbled about a mix-up. My father blamed the delivery company, but Vincent wasn't fooled. He slammed his hand on the table, rattling the glasses. Tell me now what happened to that truck, or there'll be consequences, he roared. The restaurant went quiet, other diners staring, but I didn't care. I was reeling. A truck. My grandfather had sent me a pickup and I'd never seen it. I looked at my parents waiting, but what came next was worse than I'd imagined. Between stutters and excuses, my mother admitted, we sold it, her voice barely audible. We needed the money, Vincent. Things were tight. My father jumped in, justifying it. It was for the family's good. We couldn't afford a fancy truck and Lucas needed things. I snapped. Lucas needed things? I shouted. What about me? Don't I matter? Why is it always him? Vincent stayed silent for a moment, staring at them with a fury I'd never seen. Then he spoke, his words sharp. I can't believe you betrayed my trust. I gave you that truck for Michael, my grandson, the one who works hard, who never asks for anything, and you sold it for clothes, trips, and Lucas's whims? Really? My parents tried to apologize, promising it wouldn't happen again, claiming it was a mistake. Lucas looked scared for once, but Vincent was done. Not another penny, he said, standing. You're on your own. Pay this bill yourselves. He turned to me. Michael, let's go. We left, and he drove me in his car. As we drove, he told me the truth. For years, he'd sent money for me, not just the house. He trusted my parents to handle it, but they'd kept it all. The truck wasn't all. There was money for my education, for my future. They'd spent it on themselves and Lucas. I saw how they treated you, he said. The jabs, the way they diminished you. But this is too much. I was stunned, not just by the truck, but by everything he'd tried to do for me. I felt betrayed, yet validated. Someone finally saw the truth. Then Vincent looked at me. You're not staying with them. Come with me. I live in a place with opportunities. I'll help you start fresh. I didn't hesitate. I said yes. A week later, I was on a plane with him, heading to a new life. When I saw his house, I was floored. A sprawling place with a garage full of classic cars. Pick one, he said, grinning. The truck they stole is gone, but these are yours. I chose a sleek blue sedan, like something from a dream. With Vincent's help, I landed a job at a tech firm. Not just any job, but a solid role with growth potential. For the first time, I felt valued. Vincent was proud, and so was I. Months later, my phone started buzzing, my parents and Lucas. I ignored the first call, the second, weeks of messages. After what they'd done, selling my truck, pocketing money meant for me, mocking me for years, I owed them nothing. But one night, after a long workday, curiosity won. I answered to see how far they'd go. Michael, is that you? My mother's voice trembled, unlike her usual commanding tone. We need to talk. Please don't hang up. I stayed silent. Things are tough. Your grandfather cut us off. We have no money, Michael. We'll be evicted next week without rent. Your family, you have to help. I laughed, cold and sharp. Family? The word felt absurd from her. Family? Where was that when you mocked me? When you sold my truck for Lucas's clothes and your vacations? When you left me behind while you partied? She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. No, Ellen. You treated me like nothing for years, and now you need me? Silence. Then my father took the phone, his voice dripping with arrogance. Michael, don't be ungrateful. We did our best for you. Everything was for the family. That pushed me over. Your best? I yelled. A cheap cake you lied about? Constant insults while I worked myself raw? Or praising Lucas while ignoring me? Don't make me laugh, Richard, I heard Lucas mutter in the background. My mother returned, her tone softer, pleading. Michael, please, we're desperate. Lucas is job hunting, but it's hard. We have nothing and Vincent won't answer. You've got a good job now. We heard you're at a big company. Just a little help. We're family. That word again. Family. It sparked rage and disgust. You know what? I said, holding back a scream. If you need help, ask Lucas. He was the favorite, right? The one who got everything. Let him save you. I hung up, heart racing, but not just from anger, relief, like I'd finally said what I'd buried for years. Weeks later, Vincent told me they'd been evicted, living in a cramped place, barely scraping by. Lucas, who'd never worked, was now forced to try. My parents, who always acted superior, were struggling. I, meanwhile, was free, a good job, a dream car, and most importantly, someone who believed in me. Vincent gave me the chance my parents never would, and for the first time, I felt at peace.